How you all doing? We are Grown Ape Geeks, and this is Fallout Season 1 Spoiler Review. I'm your host, Overseer Sam, a Vault 76 escapee. Find me online, get into the wastelands. Joining me tonight will be Jeffrey, jpnt17.com. What's going on, Jeff?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Had an opportunity to watch Fallout, man, and I have to say, I love this show. This was a fantastic show. One of the better video game adaptations, but I feel like we've been seeing some pretty good video game adaptations. Like Sonic did really well. Halo's doing surprisingly well. It had a, kind of a rocky season 1. Season 2's going along pretty good. I think people are kind of turning around on that one. I've turned around, finally accepted that it's just a TV show. Enjoy the TV show that I'm watching. But we are here to talk about Fallout. What'd you think? How'd you like Fallout? What were your feelings on this?
I liked it. For me, anybody who's watched this channel knows I'm not a video game person. Fallout is at this point still just a game I've heard of. I've never seen any gameplay. I didn't even know what the storyline was about. The only thing I knew about Fallout was thumbs up, dude, because Hot Topic sells those t-shirts. But other than that, yeah. So that's all I know about Fallout. I didn't know if it was like one of them weird games like Cuphead where everything looks retro or what it was.
Oh
so
yeah, I could see that.
coming into it though, it's a concept that I find generally fascinating, just like the reaction to an extinction level event and how different creators have mused over just how society will handle something like that. And you kind of have seen some of the examples over time, even down to like a Hunger Games or going way back, Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser,
Right.
stuff like that. I just always really found the concept of like the bunker to be fascinating, and like what gives someone the mindset that that's going to be what they do. Apparently the bunker industry is currently thriving like never before, and I'm just like, the stories in Fallout were cool though. I like Walton Goggins. I mean, that man is a very, very good actor. I don't be casting a lot of white people, but he's definitely my Norman Osborn, who I would like to see in the MCU. I think
There's the fan cast. Okay.
I'm not familiar with the other two like main characters, but I think across the board, the story was acted very well. The story was paced very well for someone like myself who had no idea like what the storylines were about. The twist of the wedding was really cool for me. I really didn't know like how violent the show was gonna get. So like up until that point, it's like pretty like it's like a normal show about like people going into bunkers, and then like the wedding happens and it's like, oh, they're gonna be murdering people, like
Okay.
for real. Okay, cool. It's one of these types of shows, and I think from that point forward, it was just like a solid show. The pacing was great, the acting was very good to me at least, and I thought just like the overall story was good. It was compelling. It did a good job of like establishing a world. I don't know how close to the Fallout world it really is because I don't know nothing about the game. I know I ran into this last time with Halo when I didn't understand why everybody was so upset because I'm just judging it based off of the show. But it did a great job establishing like a world, boundaries, but still even leaving like a lot of like mystery. Like, has it actually been 200 years, or is this some like weird thing where somebody's like lying and everybody's getting Truman showed? Like it left a lot of questions for me as somebody who's not involved with the franchise outside of just like the TV show. So I definitely will be back for season 2. It's almost like rewatch season 1 before season 2 worthy to me when I think about it. But I probably will have to kind of do that anyway because I mostly will forget a lot of the stuff. But because who knows when season 2 is coming out.
Right.
But I think overall it was an enjoyable experience. If you like dystopian future, if you like, almost like superhero Star Warsy type adventure stories, like this is a good one in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the Star Warsy type adventure because there was definitely some Ray and Finn dynamics happening
for sure
with two of the leads. There were a few faces that I recognized. Walter Goggins as Cooper Howard, the Ghoul. Definitely recognized him. Surprisingly enough, I recognized the brother Norman McLean.
Oh yeah,
I recognized him. Of course, that's the kid from Hannah Montana. You know
Yeah,
what
Hannah
I'm saying?
Montana.
Like,
Yeah.
he's had a couple other things. He was in
Ender's
Ender's
Game.
Game. Yep, he was in Ender's Game, and he's made a name for himself in a few things. So he's an actor in his own right, and I do think that he's kind of being very selective about the roles he picks, and that he's picked some bangers. So give him a little credit for that. Kyle McCallahan, who many people remember from Dune. The original Dune. He's in it. Michael Emerson was the guy from a TV show, Point of Interest. He was the contact man working with Jim Caviezel. Leslie Uggams. There's a little Easter egg. She is Blind Al from Deadpool. Zach Cherry was another familiar face. You might remember him as the guy recording on the bus from Shang-Chi. And he was also the guy that told Spider-Man to do a flip. So, he's getting out there. And it's one of those things. It's kind of funny when you see something like that. But the two mains, Ella Purnell and Aaron Moat, those were faces that I couldn't put them anywhere specifically. But I think they did fantastic jobs in their role. Maximus being a stormtrooper who's kind of waking up and seeing things are a little different than what they've known them to be. And Lucy also seeing that the world is more than her little sandbox. So we definitely had Paris in there. So for everybody who saw Ray and Finn in those characters, you were not alone. Overall, I definitely enjoyed the show. I am a Fallout fan. I've got Fallout Lunchbox. I've played all the games, played New Vegas. I started with Fallout 3, played Fallout 4, played Fallout New Vegas, Fallout Shelter, and it was a mobile game. You got to build a bunker and you had to keep your bunker running. So at one point on I have a smartwatch. I got the Pip-Boy theme for my smartwatch. So and Bethesda is one of the better game company and always been a fan of a lot of what they put out.
What else have they done?
Bethesda?
Yes.
Most people are going to be familiar with Bethesda from definitely their Fallout, but Elder Scrolls series, so Skyrim, and they've got 5 Skyrim. Well, Skyrim is Elder Scroll 5. They've done Wet, they've done Rogue Warrior. I want to say the most recent game that they've put out was Starfield, and that came out last year. Yeah, in the
I've
end
heard
of
of
last
that.
year. Everybody kind of thought Starfield was going to be Skyrim in space. Given that they did so well with Fallout, I'm just waiting for Amazon to go ahead and tackle Skyrim. Like, just from their storytelling standpoint, Bethesda comes up with they have some great writers, and they've always told a great story. Fallout 3 had the story of the character you play is actually trying to find your dad. Your dad has left the vault, and you go to track your dad down, and you go through, and there's a lot of different choices that get made and be responsible for this and that. You do encounter ghouls and mutants and super mutants. A lot of the Easter egg items that were in the show all come from the world of Fallout. I think what made this such an enjoyable show is it was not a specific Fallout game that they were trying to tell a story. They simply told a story that exists in the Fallout universe. And I think that might be part of what makes it enjoyable, because you run into less comparison, because you're not having to compare it to what people know. As long as you maintain all the correct facts for that world and you follow the rules that were established in that universe, you can do what you want to do. And I think that's where, like, again, if you take something like a Star Wars, all of the lore, all of the non-canon stories that exist for Star Wars worked so well because it just followed the rules that were established in the movies we know.
We were kind of talking before the show about like kind of why some of these more modern adaptations are working and other ones have not. Like I just read like basically it's almost like an oral history on like the making of the Super Mario Brothers movie, the like Bob Hoskins one.
Bob Hoskins,
and like
John
the way
Leguizamo.
that movie was made is like a total like shit show.
Yeah.
And it's not like, it was not made by people who had any sort of, it was like they had a story they wanted to tell and they just shoehorned like Mario overlay over the top of it. Or they like took the Mario characters but like didn't, because Mario doesn't really have a story. It's just like you go through the level and you save the princess, right?
Right.
But there's no like little mid screens where it's like Koopa and like Mario having like a tete-a-tete where you're like, oh, well, this is their relationship. This is why they're mad. This is why the princess was taken to begin with. So that's stuff that like people have to kind of like make up in their minds.
Right.
But it's But so when you make a movie about it, it's like people are looking to the story and saying like, okay, so is this filling in the gaps in a way that makes sense for me? And that movie was a like definite no. But like
Correct.
because these games like a Halo or well even a Halo, like Halo's story mode is very like rigid, right? It's like you go on missions and you just have to like complete the mission.
Correct.
Versus like a Fallout that seems more like open world to a degree. Like you're trying to find your dad, but like it's not like a
That-
timer. Like if you don't find your dad in the next 20 minutes, your whole
right.
unit's gonna blow up, you know? So I think because the game has freedom, people are willing to accept a story like this because this could be someone's Fallout like playthrough
Yeah.
versus like Halo, which could never be how you play through Halo because it's like
Yeah.
according to you guys, like not what happens in the game.
The
So
drama elements don't exist, and that does, while that
right,
does make for unique storytelling elements, it's also one of those things where the way that Halo could have been released and been okay in the Halo universe, we needed to see this guy John 117. This needed to be him before he became Master Chief. The character of Master Chief is so established in the game. When you play the first game, he's already the thing of legend. And as you play through the 5 games as this character, you do get a little bit of backstory here, a little bit of backstory there. But what makes him that guy are the actions you have to take to complete these missions. He's a one-man army, and they do a good job of showing you that he's him in the show. I give them credit for that. When he's on, he is all
yeah,
the
he
way
be
on. And
work.
I was about to say, when he's on, he is all the way on. And that is Master Chief. And I'm okay with that. But it's that downtime when he gets back to the ship and he takes his helmet off. He's like walking around in civvies. Who the hell is this dude? What? No, he could have been a Spartan because the thing was like all the Spartans were bad. And even in the game, like there are other Spartans, but Master Chief was that guy. And for them to take that guy and humanize him the way that they have, he's no longer Master Chief. Now he's John. And now I care about him. Now I want to make sure that John is okay. He's safe. His friends are okay. That's
Yeah,
not what.
because Master Chief sounds like a very boring television character. If you want to keep it a buck, like
Right. And
it can't
honestly,
just be a show that's just like about war. So that was gonna be my other thing too. Like so in Fallout, the characters that are in the show are types. They are archetypes of characters that you come across in the game. Right? It's not
correct.
like Walton Goggins' character is just like representative of a ghoul you might meet in one of the games, but
Right. And
not like, oh,
there is
this
a
is a
goal
specific Fallout character.
in the different series of games. You come across different types of ghouls. You come across the feral ghoul, you come across a glowing ghoul who has like bioluminescence and whatnot. But there is a character specifically, his name I think it's John Hancock, and he looks like a pirate, and he's like a main, like a boss style character. He is the kind of character that Cooper would represent, where this is a boss style character, and you may have like an entire side quest just dedicated to the stuff that has to involve him.
Right.
Max, you might play through the Fallout and end up joining the Brotherhood of Steel, and you'll have your own power.
Oh, okay.
That could be a path. You yourself become a paladin and you're working to become a knight and get your own arm, stuff like that. So I will say the open-ended aspect of the game, the free roam playthrough, the sandbox gameplay does invite more freedom, and the creative process of writing this story works better because they don't have
But
to tell a specific story. They can just literally tell a story in that world.
and I think too, it's like it's more about the acceptance of the fans, right? Like, what will people accept as like a viable representation of this IP?
Yeah,
And like with Halo, it's kind of like well, that's kind of how we got to that standpoint of like good show, bad adaptation. You know what I
correct.
mean? Like because
Correct.
to adapt something also takes into account like being respectful to the original IP to a degree. You know what I mean? So I just found that just in hearing about the game more because I haven't done no research on it. So just
Mhm.
hearing about, I wanted to really just have this conversation here, like hearing more about the game. It's helping me understand, why this is having such a positive reception. Because for me, it's like when I look at Halo, I just see a good show that's like well written, characters well developed. But it sounds like Master Chief was not a developed character in the game, but like that was part of what made him who he was. And now that that's different in the show, feels like a disconnect. Whereas here, these characters all felt like these would be people who you would encounter playing Fallout, or, whether it be other users, I guess, who you run into, or
Right.
people like in the game playing through. So,
Yeah, the other NPCs.
yeah, and I think that just makes sense. I think that's a smart. I wonder if Hollywood is going to be smart enough to attack video game adaptations from that lens of like choosing things that give them more freedom, because there's a willingness from the audience to accept something that's not exactly like what they expect. Because even if you look at like Uncharted, right? That movie was good. The problem with that movie was just like I've said before. Tom Holland was doing a Marky Mark impression, but Marky Mark was in the movie, so it just sounded like he was talking to himself the whole time.
Right.
Other than that,
right.
like that movie, in my opinion, is like solid and solid. It was solid enough for a sequel, given, I mean, until the economy like went crazy and stuff. But I didn't hear like, I know there's people who are like crazy diehard Uncharted fans. I know a lot of people I feel like they didn't like that movie. And I feel like I didn't hear the Uncharted people stepping up and being like, hey, where's our fucking second movie? And I don't know what the reasoning behind that would be, but it's interesting that, like, we're starting to come around to the idea of video games being able to be adapted, which I think has been a big topic in our community for a long time.
I think it's not even so much being adapted, but being able to be adapted well, because you can always repeat what's been done live action.
Yeah.
You can simply take the story as is, condense it down to a 2-hour narrative, and give us what we already know to be. What's going to happen with that is you end up with something kind of washed, that's not really interesting, that maybe may not be engaging, because let's face it, if I've put 15 hours into this game or 20 hours in this game or more, because some game you can put some time in, I already know the story. So what is the movie going to give me that the game did? And if you can't give me something different or something interesting, or, you know what I'm saying, like, how many times do I need to consume the exact same thing? So when we go to when we go see these movies, we do go with the hope that we're going to get something different, but it can't be so different that it's not familiar. And the reason Fallout worked so well is it felt very, very familiar, because the setting, the environment, all the background was familiar. It was straight out of the video. I mean, like the computers having the green writing when he had to hack her password, like that is exactly how you hack in the game. The screen comes up with all these jumbled letters and you have to like hit the word that unlocks it. The Nuka-Cola bottle, the radiation being all over the place, the sickness, the stim pack. I mean, literally, when you play the game and you pick up a stim pack, it looks exactly like the stim pack looked on the show. So it was extremely familiar. So immediately coming into watching the show, episode 1, everything you see is like, oh yeah, this is Fallout. You're sold on it just from walking around the vault with Lucy. Like there is no, I hope this gets good. You're already sucked in because it's so familiar. Then you start wondering like, well, I hope they tell a good story. Once you realize they're not trying to do Fallout 3, they're not trying to do Fallout 4, they're not trying to do New Vegas, but they stay within the parameters that have already been established in the game. Cool. This is now Fallout 5. This is Fallout 6. This is a side quest in Fallout 4, and so it has an opportunity to be its own thing. And because it followed all of the rules of the world, it's exactly what you want it to be. When you take something like Hitman, Agent 47 or Hitman, either one, because that was a game where you are a central character. And for the most part, it's that character by themselves fighting against the environment and trying to accomplish something. When you look at Hitman or Agent 47, we're a little bit harder on those, because if you don't have on that black suit and that red tie, if he doesn't change outfits 2-3 times, if he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what you do in the game. So because the game is basically like a puzzle mission type game where you have to complete these objectives, and if you can do these side things, great, but you have to take your character from here, get them to the mark, eliminate the mark, and escape without being detected. It's great to see Hitman fight against his brethren and take out the dude on the train and have all these people and just go ham. He be a one-man army. but that's not how you play Hitman. That's not how that works. He's a
Right.
contractor, and so it's cool for action, but it's not a good adaptation. And then you come across something like Sonic, where them games don't have no story. Dr. Robotnik is turning animals into
Animals
robots,
into robots.
and Sonic has to collect rings and stop. That's it. Having a story where Sonic comes to the real world because goes through a ring. Because in the game, when you collect so many rings, a big ring pops up. You go through the portal, and then you get. So obviously, that's how the rings teleport. Okay, that starts to make sense. And then of course, Sonic's got to go fast. He runs, but then of course there's some influences, cartoon and stuff like that. So Sonic was one of those IPs that it stayed within the parameters of what was established. So
I
they
mean,
when they took their
I
freedom,
do feel like with Sonic though, it is one of those things where it's like they by bringing them to the real world, it kind of gets away from the game. But because we have Sonic and Tails and Knuckles and all these people's personalities like established, and they
right?
did a good job of translating those personalities, we didn't mind like seeing Sonic in the real world and interacting with people. Plus, that's the same. It's the premise of the anime cartoon. Would they come to the real world and like they're hanging out with like the boy and they're trying to find their way back? Like
Yeah,
there's like a
yeah,
Sonic X or something like that. But
right. And that's what I'm saying.
I
Like it
think if we're
stayed
going to
in
be
the
I think if we're
parameters.
going to be fair, Sonic good movie, not good adaptation because the movie is so far away from like what you do in the game.
Correct. But it's also one of those things where like there's not much to what you do in the game, and so it's in fairness,
But even
if
when you
there
look
was
at
a
the
way to
setting, like you were talking about with Fallout, right? Like when you look at a scene from Fallout, it looks like the game you Fallout. But there
well,
were shots in Sonic when he was on his original planet and all this other
there you
stuff
go.
where you did see that and they allude to it. But we didn't get to see Sonic go around like one of these random loops that seem to occur in nature on his planet, and
Right, these random
we
loop de
didn't.
loop structures. But
Right.
again, to that point, when you said that moment, that glimpse we saw of his original world, it looked the way we expect. It looked like Green Zone One, the way we expect Green Zone One to look for a character. If that's what Sonic looks like, then his world has to be in the same style. So when we see his world and it fits, we're like, okay, that's established. Dr.
I wanted
Robotnik,
more.
I definitely wanted more, but the limitation
It's like
now.
Both Sonic movies and this Knuckles TV show have taken place in the real world.
Correct.
So
At some point,
we're on this fish out of water type deal. This is Alf at this point.
yeah, yeah,
You know what
and
I'm
and I'm
saying? Like,
and I'm not disputing that by any means. Again, it is just by following the established parameters, it does give them freedom to tell a new story so long as they stay within these parameters. And that is probably where some of the other ones have fallen short and done something different. Because I'll agree, Uncharted stayed within its parameters. Okay, Assassin's Creed stepped too far out of its parameter. They hit a few key buzzwords, but they stepped so far out of the parameters of what's been established by all these games. That's why that one didn't do as well. Standalone, very interesting content. And I think they adapted a lot of it well. I'll say that. They adapted a lot of it well. But they took too many liberties with the established canonical story in the history of what Assassin's Creed is. They could have taken that same story, done the exact same thing, and merged it back inside the parameters, and it would have worked better. And I think people would have been more receptive to it. But it was one of those things where like it was just so jarring that people are like, this ain't Assassin's Creed. And I mean, anytime you have a movie where it looks like they just took the name because it was a popular name, like if the movie could have been the exact same movie but called something else,
yeah.
that's where the disappointment comes. And I will say that Halo, the TV show Halo, I don't think it really could have been called anything else.
Yeah, because when they implanted Cortana, if they was trying to call it something else, I'd be like, man, that's Cortana from Halo.
And that's the thing. Like they have enough of what is established canon that they have to still say that it is based on. And sometimes you have things where it says based on and they stick very, very close to the original. And other times it says based on and they're like, okay, well, here are the things we have to do. But other than that, have fun. And Halo is one of those times where they're like, here are the things you have to do, but otherwise have fun. And they did the things they have, so I can be drawn back in and still enjoy it.
All right, enough about Halo. Out of those three main stories, which story were you the most like compelled by?
I would have to say it's honestly it's very easy for me. The most compelling story in this has to be the ghoul. Has to be the ghoul. Just because he's had more happen in his lifetime that he's seen it from the beginning and he's still here to see it as it unfolds. And so given that a lot of what I won't say a lot of what happened rests on him, but he takes personal responsibility for a lot of the things that have taken place because he was the face of Vaultec. He was the, he doesn't want to do the thumbs up anymore because he did the thumbs up in the commercial. They loved it. They ran with it. And he feels some responsibility as we go through and we see the relationship with his wife and his daughter, like as those things start to unfold and you start getting a little bit more backstory of that and that she was one of the Vaultec executives. And, we see how that company came in and essentially like took over. You can really see where he's coming from and why he's walking around with this humongous chip on his shoulder. I want his closure, however it comes. And I am definitely interested in getting more from that character.
Yeah, I think for me, definitely, the ghoul story was fascinating just because, he had been there since the beginning and he kind of is the only one that knows like what's really, really going on. And so it's like for Lucy, it seems like this is almost like that reality check where it's like she's been told this thing about how the world works her whole life, and now every day she's discovering like all these lies, right? And then
Right.
there's like two different characters who bring her truth or show her truth, right? And it's the ghoul who's showing her the like harsh reality of what life is like, and then there's Maximus who kind of is showing that there's still people who want to like do good, and not everyone has succumbed to the temptation for violence and destruction just because
Right.
of the collapse of society, right? So I think for her it was interesting because kind of seeing, obviously she's trained to use force. She has no issue with that. We see that episode 1. And so I thought that was fascinating, not to go through the whole like, oh my God, no, a gun, to at the end of the movie, now I'm like this female badass assassin. Like, we just skipped that whole BS because that's not what this is. And I thought that was really great. And if anything, we had that more with Maximus than we did with Lucy. You know what I mean? Like, Lucy was very much like, I ain't never been here before, but like, I'm trained and ready. And Maximus was kind of just like, I'm trained and ready physically, but mentally, like, this is not going well.
Right.
So
This isn't like it was in training.
yeah, that's just what I found fascinating about like Lucy's story. Maximus was interesting. I don't really still know what to like make of that character. I feel like he's noble, but like not effective. And I don't know how
Right.
he made it this far through any of the programs required to like get anywhere near that suit, let alone like become like a squire to help somebody like take care of that suit.
And
So
and the funny thing is, I think that's what makes his story. That's probably the most interesting aspect of his is that for him it is nothing more than circumstance and dumb luck.
right.
Because he should have been taken out when the first person was chosen to become a knight, and then suddenly mysteriously they had damage to their feet, like somebody put razors in their boots or whatnot. That's crazy. But now they can't go, and the blame immediately goes to him.
Yeah.
They pull him in, and you can see that this is about to go really bad for him.
Yeah. I think the dumb luck thing is interesting because now it's like, especially with how season 1 ended, it will be interesting to see if he holds true to kind of his like honesty, or if he like just lets them prop him up and he becomes like incel night man because she left him there because you were like literally, she thought you were dead. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I'm curious as to how what his response is going to be, because I think even after we talked in our X-Men review about just how the male characters on X-Men were handling like their heartache,
Right.
I think it became even more grating, kind of just even the look on his face of like realizing that she like left was just like, oh boy, this is gonna go left. And I don't think I'm gonna like really like this character anymore. And even if it's like he says something crazy and then she like ends up taking him back in the end when he like changes his ways, it's just like, girl, he ain't gonna change. Like,
But it's also when you hear his story and it's like, okay, he was taken in by the Brotherhood. So he's an orphan. He's lived his whole life under the teachings of the Brotherhood. He is somewhat brainwashed by their concept. And you see they're zealots in their own right. He's a person who just follows orders and does what he's told, does what's, supposed to do. But then you see those moments where you see that moment of clarity where he realizes like he has a little more control. He has more options than he thought he did, because when his knight got injured fighting the bear, he immediately was like, oh, I got to get a stem. And then he's like, well, wait, and I don't like the way you're being mean to me on top of that. So, it's like, it's that part of him that throws me off, that outward. He has moments where he shows he's a trained soldier. Then he has moments where he's like 10, and you get that he's still that little boy who crawled out of that refrigerator, and he's never left that moment. And that moment has carried him, and he's done nothing more than just survive and just exist up to this point. So you hope that the interaction with Lucy is going to show him that he has options and he is more in control. And now he has something that he's looking for and that he wants. So once he sees she leaves, hopefully he doesn't make that hard left and go incel. Hopefully he does, like, I hate the trope, but true love wins in the end, and he's going out to find her, and doesn't just like, well, now everybody has to burn because I thought she liked me and she doesn't like me either. So no one wants me. No one likes me. Because I felt like when the other paladin ran up and was like, no, listen, you took her out. He was just kind of like, because it was like he doesn't want to lie. He doesn't want to live that life. And I saw that moment, and I'm hopeful that he holds on to that going into the next season.
Right.
So there's a little Easter egg towards the end there when we see the dad get into the power armor and he runs off. At the end, we see that skyline that he's there, that is specifically one of the more popular of the Fallout titles, New Vegas. When we see the dad head that direction, Lucy's now had her eyes open to the truth of what's what, and it makes you wonder, like, okay, she's joining the ghoul. She's joining Cooper to go chase after dad because dad is responsible for mom dying. And it's always interesting when you have that, like, one parent versus the other parent, especially when your whole world gets flipped upside down because you thought, but this is what is. Meanwhile, Norm is back at the vault and he's discovering some things and uncover stuff. I would really like to see Norm get out of the vault and catch up with Lucy as well. And perhaps maybe somehow they get together to fight dad. That would be an interesting side story that they could try to examine.
I kind of like him in the vault because I think like it would be very easy to like do this like the world is a wasteland and that's all there is story. But I think, and that was kind of what I wanted to talk about, just like the commentary in the show, right? About society. Like, I don't know how much of that is in the game itself, but like to use the show to talk about, the basically like capitalism basically like making the end of the world a commodity. And even just like, I think even just like in looking at how the vault was going, right? Like you're all separated. You think you know what's going on next door, and these motherfuckers been dead for years, and you didn't even know that because you've trapped yourself off, and you're telling everybody your way is the best way, and like it's the smartest way to live, and we're gonna go out there and we're gonna show them the right way to do things because we got it going on, and here we doing it right in here, and then it's just like the whole time it's all a lie. You got the subversive politics going that Norm is dealing with in the vault. You got the basically your dad lying to you this whole time, even just like showing like the little videos of like the original pods, like the one that was like all scientists. It's like, all right, so you've broken down all these pods where they're like imbalanced. So it's like clearly the scientists, even just the commentary on like people who are like, oh, just listen to everything the scientists say. It's like, yeah, some of these motherfuckers is crazy. They didn't just know they crazy. They're just crazy people who know science. Doesn't mean they have like morality and they don't have like, yeah,
right.
They can solve some stuff, but they can also create problems just when left to their own devices. So
just because you can doesn't mean you should. And a lot
it's like
of
the
those
lack of balance of
there.
society in the vault almost mirrors the chaos of what's happening outside of the vault. And I thought like just even Lucy like having those revelations, but not in a way where like, at least to the last episode, you kind of see her hope get destroyed a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like she was learning a lot on her journey in terms of like life is harder than I thought it was, but also like I don't have necessarily the right idea about all of these people. out here, but also now it's like I also don't have the right idea about my own dad. And if my own dad is this way, especially like this is days after like my husband basically ended up trying to kill me 3 seconds after he got finished like doing what he do. Like even that conversation like I've had with some of my, you know, non-black friends about just like the reality of America. Certain things weren't that long ago, and like my parents were alive, your parents were alive.
Yeah.
I know what my parents were doing. Do you know what your parents were doing? You haven't asked? You know, you're not curious? Or is it just you're cool just with like going along with the flow and not like investigating any of that, knowing where your people stand, knowing who your people really are? Some people
No,
are
because
okay with going along with the get along just to preserve looks, and some people choose to dig a little deeper.
some people don't want to have that Lucy moment where they realize their dad or their mom is not who they thought.
Yeah.
People don't want their world turned upside down, you know? And Lucy would love to have been able to keep the memory of her dad being what it was. But I knew her life was different when she finally let mom go have rest. Like,
Right.
okay, it's a wrap now, Pop. That's it. And you know, I definitely think the social commentary that's there for different vaults and different societies within those vaults. When we see Lucy return to a vault, and of course, it turns out this vault lets outsiders into their vault. This the one with the Cyclops. Of course, she's there, and halfway through, she's like, "Wait, something's not right. This is not how it should be." Only because it was different from the vault she was in. It still followed a lot of the same, I guess, regulations of a vault, so it was familiar to her, and she thought that everything was on the up and up. Scratch under the surface a little deeper, and you see that there's other stuff happening. Sometimes speculation without understanding can lead to some miscommunication, and a lot of people were about to be injured that didn't need to be injured. But
It's like, maybe maybe the crazy like get naked cult vault has it right.
you know what I'm saying? They might be the ones who really understand and are doing it a little bit better than the rest. Because you know what? They're not waking people up out of a cryostasis to come and be the new overseer in their vault. Every time you need a new person, you're marrying somebody from Vault 31. So it's like, you know, it's definitely a unique twist. And one of the cool things, and this was another little Easter egg from the game, and they kind of touched on it in the show, each one of the vaults was ultimately a social experiment that took place. And so when you hear the committees talking about, you know, new tech is like, well, what if we did this? What if we put this in place? What if we did that? What if we could took a vault and just had that? There are over 100 vaults that exist in the world of Fallout. And sometimes when you're playing the game, you might discover a new vault, and you go down in the vault, you can read through the overseer's computer, or you can read the notes and the letters that are left and whatnot. Sometimes you get to a vault and nobody's in there, and it looks like nobody's been in there for a while. And you come to discover that vault had nothing but, like, this vault was where parents were separated from their children. So the oldest person in that vault is 15 years old. Lord of the Flies much? You know, and it's like all of these social experiments that took place with all these different vaults were a result of the different mega corporations buying up these vaults to run their own experiment. That by itself it's a fascinating mirror image of what a lot of the conspiracy theorists are talking about here in the real world, where, you know, you take some of the various billionaires and the different things they're trying to say. And there's all these kind of conspiracy theories of what Elon Musk is working on, what Bill Gates is working, what Jeff Bezos is working. And, you know, when you find out the different pots that they have their hands in, and
They're gonna kill us all.
you know what I'm saying, some of the things that they support, you know, just like you find out that Planned Parenthood and Bill Gates, you could definitely go down a whole rabbit hole just with the billionaire conspiracy. But here was an example in a show to show you how that happened.
Right.
And I thought that was a very, very clear, pointed analogy that the show gave us. I want them to continue scratching at the surface of that, dig a little deeper into that. It's on Amazon, so we probably will hear nothing that, you know, Bezos is interested in.
Right.
We only gonna hear about Elon and Bill Gates, but you know,
Yeah.
it's still quite fascinating, and I thought that was a good way to sprinkle in some of the lore that exists for Fallout into a conceptualized visualization in the show. Very impressive. We know that they've been renewed for a season 2, and I'm very excited, very happy. I hope it doesn't take a full year before. And it was kind of interesting that Amazon dropped all 8 episodes, because they had been doing week by week, and this was one where they were just like, here you go, have it all. And I don't know if Amazon's trying to
They thought that shit sucked. I'm gonna be real with you. They don't know
You
what
think
they're
so?
doing. They don't know what they're doing. The lack. I'm gonna say this. We hear about The Boys. We hear about Invincible. We hear about Thursday Night Football. We hear about all the stuff that's on Amazon that they care about. I don't think that they really believed in this project. I don't know what executive or anybody would make the choice, especially after, even if you said we're going to release it all at once. By the time X-Men 97 came out and was showing you, people were like clamoring and talking about a 30-minute episode every week. Maybe, did you just not believe in the IP enough to feel like people would keep coming back and discussing the story? Did you feel like it wasn't big enough, like on a Game of Thrones type level, or like that? I mean, they gave it the same reverence they gave, another fairly good adaptation, in my opinion, Twisted Metal, where that just like dropped, not a whole bunch of fanfare, was really good,
Really
easy to
good.
knock out in a really, really short period of time. It was a good binge watch, but it didn't make like nearly the splash that Fallout has made. Probably because it's a game that people currently play versus like Twisted Metal, which is like a nostalgia play. Like,
Right.
you having to explain all the Easter eggs. I'm having to Google all the Easter eggs because it's been damn near 20 some years since I played a Twisted Metal game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What strikes me odd about Amazon more than any of the other streaming services and whatnot is I feel like they pick up more of the violent content. Invincible, The Boys, Fallout.
Oh yeah.
It is like it is. I just think that's a very unique.
I mean,
The word.
I think that they are doing the thing that WB wishes it was doing, which is being the like adult Disney. Like they're
Okay,
giving for the hardcore geeks who don't want, Wolverine's claws to be,
for
sanded
sure.
down at the tip. Like you can go to Amazon, you know what I'm saying? You can see The Boys. We blowing people up for real. You
Yeah,
can see Fallout. We shooting people in the head for real. You can see Invincible. People getting their heads bashed in for real on them shows.
yeah.
And you're not really seeing, like even as good as like an X-Men 97 is, it is more violent than the original, but it's not on the level of like an Invincible. Like
Not at all.
imagine that Genosha attack, but like the Invincible riders doing it. It would have been guts everywhere, blood all over the place. You just heard
That would have
explosions,
been
all kinds of stuff.
too hard to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
That would have been too difficult to watch. And even this last episode, like what I've seen from that episode, I am glad that they are toning things down a little bit because this show is getting real. But it just strikes me as odd because I expect that kind of content on Amazon, and the fact that my mind automatically tells me that kind of content is on Amazon is the part that blows my mind because I'm like,
It's a genius play.
why was Amazon the immediate go-to NC-17 R-rated graphic violence? Like, how was that the home? Hulu's of course tied with Disney, so you're not gonna catch it there. And even Disney's like they're opening up a little bit because they're recognized now that geek culture in general is the hot dollar item, and they are finding so much success by tapping more and more into geek culture. I do believe we will begin to see more brands open up and embrace all aspects of geek culture. So we may
Right.
start to see more of the more mature and adult themed items. But at the same time, it's like, I just don't know that Amazon is going to continue to be the go-to. Because like looking at the success they have here with Fallout, the fact that they dropped all 8 episodes. I was shocked when I watched the first episode. The wife happened to come in while I was watching the second episode. She kind of got involved. We watched the third episode. Then I was like, okay, I'll catch the rest of it later. She went back and watched the first episode so that she would know what was going on. And then we watched the other remaining episodes that weekend. It was like boom,
Right.
boom, 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 boom. And she wanted to know what was going to happen, what's next, and the fact that she's never played the game. She knows I've played the game a couple times. And so she's familiar. She sees like she knew Vault Boy and stuff like, because I got stuff all over. So I've got some Fallout stuff. So she's familiar with it. My son's played it. I've played it. She's seen it on the TV screen, but she doesn't have a clue what she's looking.
Right.
I turned on Fallout 76 the other day and she's looking and she's like, so is that your power armor? And I was like, yeah. She was like, so can you like fly like the other guy? I was like, no, this power armor doesn't have those upgrades. I can't fly in mine. But when I get in and get out, and then she's like, don't you have to use a stem pack? I'm like, you're enjoying knowing all of these terms right now, aren't you? And I think it is one of those things where like we've seen on the servers, a lot more people have jumped back into Fallout 76 as a result. Because, Fallout 76 came out in like 2020, 2019, something like that. And I had a character I was like level 6, played through when they first dropped in the beta. I hadn't touched it. I've played the last like 5 nights in a row, and I've been having a great time. And I forgot how much fun this game was. And it's right back in there. And of course, there's a lot of new people. I'm going through and I'm seeing a lot of like level 3s and level 4s because it was such a great show that it has brought people over and they are interested and they are wanting to check it out. I think the Fallout 4 like shot way up on Game Pass, and you got a bunch of people who've never played Fallout before now playing it because they saw this show. They're like, "Is it like that in the game?" And it's like, "Yeah, it is like that." They're like, "Oh, I want to do that," and I think it's fantastic. And of course, the fandom, the gamer part of me loves when something good like this comes out and brings people in because even if you just want to run around like the ghoul and just try to blow up everybody, by all means, bring it. Bring it. And you're going to have just as much trouble when I put my power armor on trying to take me out as the ghoul had trying to take out Maximus. But season 2, what's the one thing, what's the main storyline you would like to follow in season?
All right, so I already know Dad's going to New Vegas. We're gonna find out what that is next season. Lucy and Cooper, the ghoul, they going on the quest to find the dad. So we already know that's gonna be some John Wayne, True Grit type stuff there. I really hope it does not get weird and sexual, but who knows? My main story that I'm most focused on, and then we got the vault and just finding out the secrets there, finding out, what's going on politically there. But my main story that I'm interested in is seeing like how Maximus is going to change, given how the events actually went down versus how they have been received. Are we going to see him succumb to like his greed, or is it going to be a situation where he kind of like sets the record straight? I think I'm really interested to see like how Maximus being in a position of leadership and getting the respect finally that he always so craved. I'm just curious to see how his character is going to react to that personally.
Okay. I think the storyline that I'm most interested in actually is Cooper more so than Lucy. When he finally gets an opportunity, he talks to McLean. The only thing he wants to know from McLean is where's his wife and daughter. When everything first went down, his daughter was with him. So when he says, "Where's my family?" Of course, we assume he's talking about his daughter, talking about the ex-wife. We know that she worked as hard as she could for Vault-Tec in order to secure one of those vaults and had a big hand in actually creating the situation. Don't know that she was the person with the hand on the button, but she was definitely in the war room where they were discussing how it was going to go down. So hearing something like that, knowing something like that, their dynamic is going to be uniquely interesting. I'm absolutely curious to see how his story plays out because I need to know why he's not in a vault. How did the wife and daughter make it, but he didn't? Because she was doing it for the family. Like we saw some flashback time where he went to the little conspiracy theory meeting and he met Maldever. Like there's just so much wrapped up into Cooper that I want to dive more. I think he's a fascinating character. And let him be the main character for season 2, and Lucy's the companion. But she's done her thing, so continue to give her a side quest throughout. But that's Fallout. That is our review of season 1. That is a full spoiler review. We hope you've enjoyed this show. We ask that you make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget, you can always click that QR code. That'll take you to everywhere you can find Grown A Geeks. Follow us on Facebook. Be a part of our conversations there. While you're on the YouTube, make sure that you click that notification bell so you can hear anytime we drop some of this new, fresh, piping hot content for you to enjoy. But for myself, Overseer Sam, and Jeffrey, JPNT17, we are out of here.